Welcome to the Purple Elephant Show. I am your host, Casey Phoenix, and this is going to be an interesting episode. This is about the lockdowns, and hopefully, I'm hoping that it won't be that long. I'm not looking to do that. Before I dive into this, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, if you could please like, share, and or subscribe, that would be awesome. You can follow the show on Twitter at RealTPES, or you can go to the website, which will take you directly to the Anchor website. ThePurpleElephantShow.com will take you directly there. As for Instagram, The Purple Elephant Show is the handle on Instagram. As I always mention, I barely check it. I check Twitter more than anything. So, yeah, just so you know. Now, I want to tell you about a little video that I had seen. It's a little video clip. And I have dark humor, but apparently I'm not the only one. And it was a little girl swinging. And she was swinging back and forth, back and forth, having a good time. And in the midst of this little girl swinging, there was a little boy. While the little girl was swinging back and forth, back and forth. And this little boy, he was maybe like 2 or 3 years old. And this is, like I said, this is just a guess. Obviously, I wouldn't know his exact age, but he looked like he was about 2 or 3 years old. And while the girl was swinging, this little boy was oblivious to all of the other stuff going on around him. And mostly, he was oblivious to the little girl swinging back and forth, back and forth. So he decides, while she's swinging, to start walking towards her, where he's going to intersect in the path of where she's swinging while she's going back and forth. And when he gets close, the video slows down. Whoever cut the video, they cut it down to go in slow motion. And as he gets closer to the path that the girl is swinging in, he goes by there and he misses her by just a little bit. And while it's in slow motion, you're just like, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And she misses him by just a little bit, and we're like, oh, thank goodness. But up to that lead up, it was wait for it, wait for it. But this is the thing. For whatever reason, I do not know what goes on in kids' heads, because as kids, we do some crazy things. I am one that falls in that category. You know, I stuck my finger in a light bulb lamp socket one time, and electrocuted myself. Kids do crazy things. So, I don't know what was going on in this little boy's head. After he had barely escaped past this girl swinging back and forth, back and forth, I don't know if an invisible man, I don't know if he heard somebody call him. I don't know what it was, but he turned around and started to walk back down the same pathway that he came, while the girl was still swinging. The video goes back to slow motion again, and you're looking like, oh my God. Wait for it. Wait for it. As he gets closer, and the girl's swinging back and forth, back and forth. And he made it through the first time. That second time, nope. He didn't make it through. The girl came and hit him and knocked him off his feet. Dark humor. But the little boy was okay, though, obviously. Because I'm sure if something bad would have happened, we would have read about it. But the little boy was okay, and it all worked out, I'm sure. I tell you that story to say what the title of this episode is. Wait for it. Wait for it. When it comes to these lockdowns. Now, to add something to this particular episode from the side that I feel dovetails into the whole point I'm about to make. I was planning on doing an episode later, before the China Wuhan virus happened, that America is the most civilized country in the world. There is no other country in the world that is more civilized than the United States of America. And in my notes here that I'm looking at my wonderful laptop, I'm going to give you just a little bit of a breakdown here. Just some brief info for you. Now, the states with the most government employees, this is nationally, state, and local governments employed. It's about, and this was based off of a survey from 2014, it was about 7.4 million people. Now, as for people in Congress, we obviously have 535 members, 100 in the Senate, 435 in the House. We have 50 governors in the 50 states, obviously one governor for each state. I'm not doing U.S. territories or anything like that, but obviously there's governors in U.S. territories, but I'm just talking about the 50 United States. When it comes to municipal governments, it's 19,429. So for the municipal governments with a population of 30,000 or larger, there's about 1,400 mayors, give or take. Obviously, some of these numbers intersect, but I want to keep going with this. It's estimated for the law enforcement within the United States of America, there's about 800,000 people in law enforcement in the United States. With military active duty personnel, civilians by state, numbers of U.S. military service members vary by state, driven mostly by workforce levels at large bases. There were a total of 1.3 million active duty military and more than 800,000 reserve. So we'll just say, I'll just round it up to 2.5 million in the military. Now, another thing that I like to add in here. A small arms survey stated that U.S. civilians alone account for 393 million, about 46%, of the worldwide total of civilian held firearms. This amounts to 120.5 firearms for every 100 residents in the United States. So when it comes to firearms, it's funny, but it's not funny. The United States accounts for about 46% of the world. I gotta get through the show. I gotta get through the show. I gotta get through the show. The United States counts for about 46% of the world's firearms, according to a small arms survey. And I'll read this again. The small arms survey stated that U.S. civilians alone account for 393 million, about 46%, of the worldwide total of civilian held firearms. This amounts to 120.5 firearms for every 100 residents. That last little stat that I read is why, and laughed at. That last little stat I read is why I say America is the most civilized country in the world. We have over 300 million Americans. For the other numbers I gave you, that's not even when it comes to the military, when it comes to the people in that work within the government, state, federal, so on and so forth. Even if you added all that up, even though some of that intersects, that's not even 10% of the population. So in a country with over 300 million, when the government said we need to lock everything down, obviously there were other things that played a role with people acquiescing to the request. However, people did what they were asked, and they're like, hey, whatever we can do to help flatten the curve. The reason I say wait for it, is because some states are opening back up and some states aren't. Some counties are opening back up and some counties aren't. Some cities are opening back up and some cities aren't. Just like the city that I live in, Los Angeles. They're saying that the lockdown is extended until July, even though they're planning on letting certain essential businesses open. But the ones that are not essential, the mayor of Los Angeles has said that he'll have LADWP turn off their power and water. When I wake up every day, I give thanks to the universe that I'm not in a horrible position like some people are right now. I can only imagine what some people are going through. For me, I've been working from home for quite some time now. So I was working from home before the China Wuhan virus. And not to get too far off the path here, my astrological sign is Cancer. We're homebodies anyway. So this is just another day for us. For most cancers. There are the rare cancers that love to be out and about. But for the most part, most cancers, as long as we have food in the refrigerator, we're good. The current setup that has put people in such a horrible situation, and as I say, I give thanks every day that I'm not one of those people. This is something that I believe it was Senator Kennedy, no relation, from Louisiana, who said when it comes to opening the government, it's not a point of opening it safe or soon. It's now getting to a point of, or should I say opening the economy. It's not a point of opening it safe or soon. There's no longer a choice. It's safe and soon. Because people are hurting. The wait for it is when people get to a breaking point. When people snap. And maybe that's why I'm not in some type of crazy situation. Because one of the worst opponents that you can have is someone who has lost everything and they don't have anything else to lose. Suicide rates are currently going up. That's one extreme. But then there's another extreme of that. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just being a realist. If you listen to me when I spoke about the China Wuhan virus and everything else, I forgot what episode that was off the top of my head, but you can go through it and look it up. When it comes to people snapping, everybody has a breaking point. And now, just like with the beaches, I know in New York, people are going out to the beaches anyway when they didn't want anyone going out to the beaches. And if I'm not mistaken, the mayor of New York said that the beaches are going to be closed for Memorial Day weekend. I have a feeling that may not go too well for him. Recently, they were saying that people were out in New York and Brooklyn and other places, not social distancing, not wearing a mask, drinking out by bars and doing other things. Because people are reaching a breaking point. Now, some people have said that for the counties or states or what have you that are still closed and are refusing to open, it may be political. It could be. Or it may just be people being extra cautious. I don't know. I do know that the likelihood of something being a little bit more nefarious is pretty high after seeing some of the things that I've seen over the years. But I believe also that President Trump is doing the same thing that I'm doing and a few other people are doing. Wait for it. Because you have to remember, with Los Angeles, for example, Los Angeles is the second largest city in the United States of America. There's a population, which I don't have the numbers in front of me, and I could do a quick search, but I'm just going to do it off the top of my head. I'm guessing within Los Angeles County, there's at least 6 to 8 million people, maybe 10 million within Los Angeles County. That's just a guess. So you have one mayor and guessing maybe 10 to 20,000, but I'll round it up to 100,000 when it comes to people, police, National Guard, things like that might be able to assist with certain things. To quarantine millions and millions and millions of people. And across the United States, with over 300 million people, even if you have 2% that snap, that's already 6 million people. Right there. And when I say snap, I mean where they just feel like they have nothing else to lose. They've lost everything, so they might as well go full throttle. You don't want the country to get to a point where not only the economy breaks, but the rule of law breaks with it. Where the seeds of anarchy are sown because people are being overly cautious, or because they are being vindictive to the current sitting president. And for the people who are in office, you have to take a look at this and realize you need to have a plan. You need to organize this better. Because for people to not have their livelihood, for people who have spent years, possibly decades, building businesses. I was reading recently that 25% of the restaurants that have closed, they're never going to reopen. Could you imagine spending your life building up your restaurant business? You have customers, you know their names, they know your name, and then in the blink of an eye, your business is gone. Your income is gone. Being able to feed yourself and your family is gone. Your bills are affected, your mortgage, credit card, which credit card debt obviously is increasing. There was one stimulus, which $1,200, that doesn't even cover my American Express bill. But people really need, and when I say people, I'm talking about people in government. People in government really need to sit down and think about what the American people are going through. And even if it's just to reflect, because I know some people say they care, but usually it's just lip service. Because if they're not feeling it, then they don't care as much. Me personally, I've been broke before. I've been homeless before. So I know what it's like. So I know some people are hurting. And it is horrible. I'm sitting back as these lockdowns continue. And I'm saying, wait for it. Wait for it. For the people in government, you need to work on being more solution oriented instead of more analysis oriented. As the saying goes, analysis paralysis or paralysis analysis. With that, don't let overanalyzing everything paralyze people who need to live. Because once everything is lost, it usually goes downhill from there. But in the meantime, with the mayor of Los Angeles, I'll just be sitting back like people were when that little boy was walking in front of that girl, walking by the girl swinging, wait for it. And the people of Los Angeles, they were like, okay, just like the little boy missed the collision the first time. But then with Los Angeles, they're like, oh, well, we need to extend it again. Wait for it. Wait for it. So that's my whole thing. Thank you for watching this episode. I'm working on another episode, and that's pretty much all I have to say. And just to throw something else out there on this final note, Americans' patience isn't limited, isn't unlimited. If Americans' patience was unlimited, we wouldn't be the United States of America. We'd still be Britain. That was a slow burn with the 13 colonies. They didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, we don't want to be part of the British Empire anymore. It was a slow burn. There was a buildup. And I'm sure there were people then saying, wait for it. Wait for it. I see stuff moving in slow motion right now. So yeah, follow on Instagram, The Purple Elephant Show. Follow on Twitter, Real TPES, which is the one I check mostly, as I always say. ThePurpleElephantShow.com will take you directly to the streaming. Thank you again for watching and for listening. I'm working on the other episode very soon.